Not sometimes the hardest part of life is understanding why certain doors suddenly close without warning. You may have prayed for something, worked hard for it, loved it deeply, and believed it was meant for you, yet it slipped away from your hands. In those moments, the heart feels confused, disappointed, and even broken. But what we often fail to realize is that Allah, in His infinite wisdom, removes things from our lives not to punish us, but to protect us and guide us towards something far. Not greater. When Allah closes a door, it is never random. It is intentional, precise, and filled with mercy that we may only understand later. Many times we become attached to people, opportunities, or dreams that are limited, while Allah wants to give us something unlimited. We hold tightly to what feels familiar because change scares us. We fear the unknown, even when the unknown carries our greatest blessings. Allah sees what we cannot see. He knows the conversations happening behind our backs, not the dangers we are unaware of and the paths that would have led us to pain instead of peace. So He gently, or sometimes suddenly, closes the door before harm reaches us. What feels like rejection is often divine redirection. A job you lost may have saved your dignity. A relationship that ended may have protected your heart from deeper damage. An opportunity that failed may have prevented years of regret. Allah removes what no longer serves your growth so that your life can move toward purpose. Not the believer learns that loss is not always loss. Sometimes it is divine rearrangement. There are moments when we beg Allah to reopen doors that He has already sealed. We keep looking back, asking, why did this happen? Instead of asking, what is Allah preparing next? Growth begins when we stop chasing closed doors and start trusting the one who controls every door. Allah does not close something good to leave you empty. He closes it because something better is already written for you. Often, not Allah removes comfort before granting elevation. Just like a seed must break open before it becomes a tree, a believer must experience change before experiencing expansion. The breaking phase feels painful because it forces us out of familiar spaces. Yet within that discomfort lies transformation. Allah is teaching patience, strengthening faith, and preparing the heart to carry bigger blessings without arrogance or attachment. Closed doors also teach reliance on Allah alone, when everything is not going well. People sometimes rely on their own plans, abilities, or connections. But when a door closes unexpectedly, the heart turns back to Allah sincerely. The believer begins making deeper dua, performing prayers with more presence, and seeking guidance instead of control. This return to Allah is itself a blessing greater than anything lost. Sometimes the closed door exposes truths we ignored. We realize that certain environments drained our peace, certain relationships weakened our faith, or certain ambitions distracted us from what truly mattered. Allah removes illusions so clarity can enter our lives. What once felt essential suddenly becomes unnecessary, and the heart finds relief where it once felt fear. Trusting Allah during closed-door moments requires faith beyond logic. You may not see immediate improvement. You may feel stuck between what ended and what has not yet begun. This waiting space is sacred because Allah is arranging circumstances behind the scenes. Every delay not carries preparation. Every silence carries wisdom. Every ending carries the beginning of a new chapter written with care, mercy, and perfect timing. The believer eventually realizes that Allah never takes without giving, never removes without replacing, and never closes a door without guiding the servant toward another path filled with unseen goodness and divine compassion that unfolds step by step according to His perfect knowledge and mercy. Life often places us in situations where everything not feels heavy, confusing, and overwhelming. You may find yourself facing challenges you never expected, carrying burdens that seem too difficult, or walking through seasons where nothing appears to make sense. During these moments, it is easy to believe that life is falling apart. Yet, in reality, Allah may be carefully preparing you for a destiny greater than anything you have imagined. Struggles are not signs that Allah has abandoned you, they are signs that He is shaping you for a higher purpose. Every person chosen for elevation goes through a period of preparation. Just as gold must pass through intense heat to become pure, a believer must experience trials to develop strength, patience, and reliance on Allah. Without challenges, growth would remain incomplete. Comfort rarely builds resilience. But hardship awakens hidden abilities within the soul. Allah knows the potential placed inside you, even when you doubt yourself. He allows certain struggles to unlock strengths you never knew you possessed. Sometimes the difficulty you face is not meant to break you, but to rebuild you. Allah uses hardship to refine character, cleanse intentions, and strengthen faith. Through struggles, arrogance softens into humility, impatience transforms into perseverance, and fear turns into trust. You begin to understand that success is not only about reaching goals, but about becoming the person capable of carrying those blessings responsibly. There are moments when you question why. Not your path seems harder than others. You watch people move forward easily while you face obstacle after obstacle. In those moments, remember that Allah prepares each person differently. Some journeys require deeper training because the destination carries greater responsibility. The weight you feel today may be proof that Allah is preparing you for something meaningful, something that requires wisdom, maturity, and spiritual strength. Struggles also redirect focus toward what truly matters. When not life is easy, distractions multiply, and the heart may drift away from remembrance of Allah. Hardship brings clarity. It reminds the believer of dependence on Allah alone. In moments of weakness, sincere du'as emerge, tears become acts of worship, and patience becomes a form of devotion. These moments strengthen the connection between the servant and the Creator, transforming pain into spiritual elevation. Allah sometimes delays success because immediate success without preparation can become a burden instead of a blessing. A person given abundance without patience may lose gratitude. A person granted influence without wisdom may misuse it. A person elevated without faith may forget Allah. Therefore, preparation often comes disguised as struggle. Each challenge builds the emotional, mental, and spiritual capacity required for the future Allah has written. Many great transformations begin in unseen battles. The nights spent worrying, the silent prayers, the moments of loneliness, and not the internal struggles are all part of the process. Allah sees every effort, every tear, and every moment of perseverance. Nothing is wasted. Even when progress feels invisible, growth is taking place within the heart and character. Struggles also teach surrender. Humans naturally try to control outcomes, but repeated challenges remind us that true control belongs only to Allah. When plans fail, faith deepens. When expectations collapse, reliance on Allah strengthens. This surrender brings a not unique peace, because the believer learns that success is not measured by immediate results, but by trust in Allah's wisdom. Often, the breakthrough arrives after the period of greatest difficulty. The believer looks back and realizes that every hardship was connected, every delay carried purpose, and every challenge contributed to a larger plan. What once felt like obstacles were actually stepping stones leading toward transformation. Allah was not pushing you away from happiness, He was guiding you toward a destiny aligned with your faith, growth, and long-term peace, preparing your heart, mind, and soul to receive blessings that require strength, patience, and unwavering trust in His perfect plan and divine wisdom. One of the most difficult tests for a believer is waiting. When you pray sincerely and ask Allah for something deeply important, you naturally hope for a quick response. You expect doors to open, problems to disappear, and relief to arrive immediately. But sometimes days turn into months, and months turn into years without visible change. During this waiting period, doubts can quietly enter the heart, making you wonder whether your du'as are being heard. Yet what feels like delay is often Allah's divine protection, working in ways beyond human understanding. Allah's timing is never careless or late. Every moment unfolds according to perfect wisdom. Human beings see only the present moment, but Allah sees the entire journey, past, present, and future. You may not believe you are ready for a blessing today, while Allah knows that receiving it now could bring harm, stress, or consequences you are not prepared to handle. The delay is not rejection, it is protection from outcomes you cannot yet see. Sometimes Allah delays something because circumstances around you are still unfolding. There may be people who need to leave your life, lessons you need to learn, or spiritual growth that must occur before the blessing arrives. If Allah granted everything, not instantly, many of us would receive blessings without the maturity needed to preserve them. The waiting period strengthens patience, purifies intentions, and teaches gratitude before the gift even arrives. There are also moments when what you are asking for is good, but not in its current form. Allah reshapes your request into something better. You may pray for a specific opportunity, but Allah prepares a greater one. You may desire a certain relationship, but Allah protects you from hidden pain, and replaces it with something healthier. The delay allows Allah's plan to unfold in a way that aligns with long-term peace rather than temporary satisfaction. Delays teach reliance on Allah rather than reliance on outcomes. When blessings arrive quickly, people sometimes attribute success to their own efforts alone. Waiting humbles the heart and reminds the believer that everything comes from Allah's mercy. During delay, the believer learns to worship Allah not only for results but for not closeness to Him. The relationship with Allah deepens because faith continues even without visible rewards. Protection often comes disguised as unanswered prayers. A missed opportunity might have led to emotional exhaustion. A postponed plan might have prevented failure. A closed path might have saved you from regret. Allah protects His servants in ways they may never fully comprehend. What appears slow from a human perspective is perfectly timed from a divine perspective. Waiting also builds, not emotional resilience. The believer develops patience, perseverance, and inner strength that cannot be gained through comfort alone. Each moment of patience becomes an act of worship. Each day of trust strengthens faith. The heart learns to remain hopeful, even when circumstances remain unchanged. This transformation prepares the believer to appreciate blessings more deeply once they arrive. During delay, Allah is never absent. He is actively arranging events, aligning opportunities, and preparing. Not hearts. The unseen world moves according to His command. While you wait, Allah may be protecting your future, softening hearts, removing obstacles, or guiding you toward a path better than the one you imagined. The believer's role is not to rush divine timing, but to maintain trust, gratitude, and consistency in worship. Many people later realize that the moments they once called delays were actually moments of mercy. When the blessing finally comes, it arrives with clarity, stability, and peace. Not that would not have existed earlier. The believer understands that Allah did not ignore their prayers. He answered them in the most perfect way, at the most perfect time, ensuring that the blessing becomes a source of goodness, growth, and lasting tranquility. Aligned with His infinite knowledge and compassionate wisdom, life changes in ways we do not always expect. Sometimes people slowly drift away. Certain habits become difficult to maintain, or environments that once felt comfortable suddenly not feel heavy and uncomfortable. These moments can be confusing because separation often feels painful. You may question why relationships weaken, why familiar routines no longer satisfy you, or why situations that once brought happiness now bring unease. Yet these changes are often signs that Allah is removing what no longer aligns with your growth, peace, and spiritual well-being. Allah knows the impact that people, habits, and surroundings have on the heart. Not everyone who enters your life is not meant to remain forever. Some individuals are part of a temporary chapter, meant to teach lessons, reveal strengths, or guide you through a specific phase. When their role is complete, Allah gently distances them from your journey. What feels like loss may actually be divine protection, preventing emotional harm, spiritual distraction, or long-term regret. Toxic relationships often drain energy without you realizing it. Constant negativity, jealousy, dishonesty, or lack of support can slowly not weaken faith and confidence. A believer may stay attached out of loyalty, fear of loneliness, or hope that things will change. But Allah sees what the heart overlooks. He removes certain people not to isolate you, but to create space for healthier connections that nurture peace, respect, and sincerity. The same principle applies to habits. Some habits appear harmless, but gradually distance a person from purpose and spiritual growth. Over time, Allah places discomfort in actions that once felt not normal. You may lose interest in activities that waste time or damage inner peace. This shift is not random, it is guidance. Allah is cleansing your life from patterns that block progress and replacing them with habits that strengthen discipline, focus, and faith. Environments also shape the soul. A place filled with stress, negativity, or constant distraction can prevent emotional and spiritual development. Allah sometimes changes your surroundings by closing opportunities or redirecting your path. At first, these changes may feel unsettling because humans naturally resist uncertainty. Yet new environments often introduce growth, new perspectives and opportunities that were impossible in previous settings. One of the greatest challenges is accepting these removals without resentment. The heart may hold on to memories, wondering why things could not remain the same. However, growth requires movement. Just as a plant must be pruned to grow stronger, a believer must experience removal. Not before renewal. Allah removes what blocks your elevation so your life can align with your true purpose. These transitions also strengthen reliance on Allah rather than dependence on people or circumstances. When familiar support systems change, the believer learns to seek comfort directly from Allah. Prayer becomes deeper, reflection becomes more meaningful, and trust begins to replace fear. The absence created by removal becomes filled with divine closeness and inner stability. Often, the wisdom behind these changes becomes clear only with time. You may later realize that certain relationships limited your potential, certain habits distracted your focus, or certain environments prevented your growth. What once felt painful transforms into gratitude because you recognize that Allah was guiding you toward peace you could not have created on your own. Allah's removals are acts of mercy disguised as endings. He prepares the heart for a new chapter by clearing space for healthier relationships, stronger faith, and greater opportunities. Each removal carries purpose, each separation holds wisdom, and each change leads toward a life that supports emotional balance, spiritual elevation, and genuine tranquility shaped by His knowledge of what truly benefits you and protects your future from unseen harm and unnecessary burdens. There are moments in life when you raise your hands in dua with complete sincerity, pouring out your worries, hopes, and dreams before Allah. You ask, not for relief, guidance, success, healing, or peace, yet nothing seems to change immediately. Days pass, circumstances remain the same, and the heart quietly wonders whether the dua has been answered. What many believers fail to realize is that Allah begins responding to duas long before visible results appear. The answer often starts in the unseen, beyond human perception, where divine plans unfold with perfect precision. Allah hears every whisper of the heart, even the prayers you struggle to not express in words. No sincere dua is ever ignored. Sometimes the response comes instantly, but in ways hidden from your understanding. Allah may be arranging events, softening hearts, removing obstacles, or protecting you from harm while you believe nothing is happening. The unseen world is constantly moving under Allah's command, aligning circumstances in ways far more complex than human planning. Doers do not always change situations immediately. Sometimes they change the person making them. A believer who consistently turns to Allah begins to experience inner transformation. Patience grows stronger, faith becomes deeper, and perspective shifts from worry to trust. You may notice that although your external situation has not yet improved, your heart feels calmer and more hopeful. This inner peace is itself an answer to your dua, a sign that Allah is nurturing your soul while preparing external blessings. Allah answers prayers in the way that brings the greatest good you may ask for. Not something specific, believing it is the best outcome, while Allah knows that another path carries more benefit. Instead of granting exactly what was requested, Allah provides something better suited to your long-term happiness and spiritual growth. The believer learns that the purpose of dua is not to control outcomes, but to connect deeply with the Creator who knows what lies ahead. Sometimes duas act as protection rather than provision. A hardship that never arrives, a problem that suddenly not disappears, or a danger you never encounter may be the direct result of prayers made in moments of sincerity. Allah may remove unseen harm in response to your supplication, granting safety without you ever realizing what was avoided. What appears ordinary may actually be extraordinary mercy unfolding quietly. The process of waiting after making dua strengthens reliance on Allah. Instead of losing hope, the believer continues asking, trusting that every supplication is recorded and valued. Not persistence in dua reflects faith, humility, and recognition of Allah's power. Even repeated prayers for the same need are beloved acts of worship because they demonstrate dependence on divine mercy rather than human control. There are also times when Allah delays the visible answer to increase the reward connected to patience and trust. Every moment spent waiting with faith becomes an act of worship. Every tear shed in prayer carries meaning. Every hopeful return to Allah strengthens the bond, not between servant and Creator. The believer begins to understand that dua is not merely about receiving it, is about becoming closer to Allah through sincerity and reliance. Often, answers to dua arrive unexpectedly. Opportunities appear from places you never imagined. Relief comes after moments of despair. Solutions unfold in ways that could not have been predicted. When the blessing finally becomes visible, the believer realizes that Allah was responding all along, guiding events step by step. Not according to perfect wisdom. Unseen blessings may already be surrounding you, protection you did not notice, strength you did not realize you gained, and opportunities quietly forming in the background. Allah's response to dua is constant, compassionate, and precise, unfolding beyond human awareness while shaping a future filled with mercy, growth, and carefully prepared goodness aligned with His infinite knowledge and loving care for those who continue to call upon Him with sincere hearts and not unwavering hope. Every believer experiences moments when life feels uncertain, as if standing at the edge of a new chapter without knowing what lies ahead. The past may hold memories of struggle, disappointment, or lessons learned through hardship, while the future remains unseen. During these transitions, Allah begins opening a new chapter filled with opportunities for renewal, peace, and spiritual growth. A new life does not always arrive suddenly, it often unfolds gradually, shaped by divine, not wisdom, and guided by unseen mercy. Allah prepares the heart before changing circumstances. Inner transformation usually begins long before external blessings appear. You may notice a shift in your thinking, a desire for peace replacing chaos, or a growing detachment from things that once consumed your attention. These subtle changes are signs that Allah is preparing you for a new phase of life. The believer starts seeking meaning instead of distraction, sincerity instead of approval from others, thought and closeness to Allah instead of temporary comfort. A new chapter often begins after a period of difficulty because hardship softens the heart and strengthens faith. Challenges teach lessons that success alone cannot provide. Through patience, reliance, and reflection, the believer develops emotional maturity and spiritual awareness. When Allah introduces new blessings, the heart is now capable of appreciating them with gratitude rather than taking them for granted. The pain of the past becomes not part of the preparation for future ease. Allah's new beginnings are filled with barakah when the believer trusts His plan completely. Trust does not mean understanding every detail, it means moving forward with faith, even when clarity is absent. Sometimes opportunities appear that were never part of your original plans. New relationships, unexpected chances, or sudden peace may enter your life quietly. These moments remind the believer that Allah's plan is always greater than personal. Not expectations. Letting go of the past becomes essential for embracing a new life. Holding on to regret, resentment, or fear can prevent growth. Allah invites the believer to release what has already passed and focus on what lies ahead. Forgiveness, both toward others and oneself, becomes a powerful step toward renewal. When the heart releases old burdens, space is created for joy, hope, and spiritual elevation. A new life also means new responsibilities. Blessings are not only gifts, but trusts. Not from Allah. Increased opportunities require gratitude, humility, and conscious effort to remain connected to faith. The believer understands that success is not measured only by material gain, but by inner peace, good character, and closeness to Allah. With each new blessing comes an invitation to live more intentionally and to use blessings in ways that benefit both oneself and others. Often, the transition into a new chapter feels uncomfortable at first. Growth requires leaving familiar, not patterns behind. The believer may feel unsure, questioning whether they are ready for change. Yet Allah never guides someone toward a path without providing the strength needed to walk it. Confidence grows step by step as faith replaces fear and hope replaces uncertainty. As this new phase unfolds, the believer begins to recognize signs of divine mercy everywhere. Small moments of ease, unexpected solutions, and feelings of contentment become reminders that Allah is actively guiding the journey. Not the heart feels lighter because it is no longer trapped by past struggles. Instead, it moves forward with trust, knowing that Allah's guidance continues at every step. A life filled with barakah is not free from challenges, but it is filled with purpose, stability, and spiritual peace. The believer learns to see every experience as part of Allah's perfect plan, embracing growth with patience and gratitude while walking toward a future shaped by faith, hope, an unwavering reliance on the one who not continuously renews hearts, opens paths, and grants new beginnings according to His boundless mercy and perfect wisdom.